In my Ohio State versus Utah preview video, I talked about each team, some of the key players for each side, and gave my score prediction, the usual. There was something that I wanted to get to in that video that I decided wasn't appropriate to discuss in that video, but now I think it is appropriate. And if you haven't seen the Rose Bowl preview plus prediction video, I'm going to link that down in the description. Please check that out if you have not already. But anyway, back to the main point. The main point is this. The idea that I wanted to present in the video was the possibility of pressure on Ohio State depending on the result. An example of this is you look around at the rest of the Big Ten, and Penn State had a disappointing year. They're 7-5. If they go out and get humiliated in their bowl game, there's going to be even more fan base pressure on Franklin. An opposite example is Michigan and Michigan State, who had exceptional seasons. It would take a bloodletting of like 42-0. It would take a repeat of Michigan State, Ohio State to happen against either team in their bowl game for the fan base to be upset at the current head coach or staff or whatever. Ohio State here is in a weird situation because you're in the Rose Bowl. You're facing off against a team who, whether they're ranked in the top 10 or not, depending on the poll, would be in the playoff conversation entering championship week if they started Cameron Rising, their quarterback, the entire year. Ohio State's playing a very good, a great football team. There's no doubt about it. They still have absolutely no reason to lose this game. Utah fans, if you're watching this for some reason, tell me down below, does Ohio State have any excuse or reason to lose to you? Ohio State fans, asking you the same question. No, I don't think so. Ohio State has an edge at the talent position, at the quarterback position, at the running back position, the O-line position, and on probably half of the defense they have an advantage. Oh, and wide receivers who assist in the quarterback. The only area on offense Utah even could contend in is probably the tight end position. Maybe the offensive line position. That's it. But Ohio State has more star talent, period. I'm going to say for now they have the better all-around coaching staff. Maybe in a year or two that'll be different, and we can reflect on this differently. But for now, Ohio State deserves benefit of the doubt because, they've been good for a decade. And you can go back even further and say they've been good if you take out the 2011 disaster that was Luke Fickell in an interim position. If Ohio State loses in the Rose Bowl, speaking of the interim year, the year that Ohio State fans like to forget about, much like how I as a Michigan fan want to forget about 2020 and how much of a disaster that was. It was even worse than Ohio State in 2011. If you lose in the Rose Bowl, you will have had your worst record since 2011. And keep in mind, this team is not the least talented. This team, I would say, would beat Ohio State's teams in 2017, in probably 2016, definitely 2012, and 2013. And yes, I've done my homework. I've watched many Ohio State games from the past. Urban had fielded some great teams, some very talented teams. There were also teams that should not have won as many games as they did, but because Urban was such a good head coach and played in a conference of inferior head coaches, he won that many games and overachieved. Anyway, this Ohio State team is talented. It's young. We knew this entering this year. The wide receiver room is better than I thought it would be. Stroud is a better quarterback than I thought he was going to be. The defense is performing worse on the D-line position, but I didn't expect you to have any good corners or secondary players. And here's Denzel Burke and Ronnie Hickman. You overperformed in a variety of different ways for me. And you still went 10-2, and lost to some other teams. So you're playing in a tougher division than I and many others anticipated it would be, and you're young. But nonetheless, it's felt like a down year. Absolutely. Losing to Michigan on the road, losing at home to Oregon, a team that I will continue to say, even though I have Ohio State beating Utah, Utah crushed Oregon 2 times in the span of 3 weeks. Once at home, once in the Pac-12 championship game. So it has felt like a downer year for Ohio State. So Ohio State wins. I think it's not a big deal. This season will be not necessarily forgotten about, but kind of forgiven. It'll be a Rose Bowl win. You're 11-2. You're Big Ten East co-champions because your only loss was to Michigan, and Michigan lost a conference game to Michigan State, and you'll enter next year under the benefit of the doubt again. What happens, though, if you're an Ohio State fan, or if you're a college football fan who can put him or herself in Ohio State fans' shoes? What happens if Ohio State loses the Rose Bowl? Whether it's by a point, 10 points, 20 points, etc. What is your opinion? What are you, specifically Ohio State fans, thinking if you lose this game? Are you thinking, A, it's okay, again, this team is young, let's build back and be better, we hired Jim Knowles? B, is there some concern because of kind of the downward trend? Playoffs 2 years in a row. 2020 outside of the Clemson game was worse than 2019. 2021 seems to be worse than 2020. You don't like what seems to be a possible downward trend. But at the same time, you're not option C. And I've seen commenters say this. They're already mad at Day. Already. They're already saying that he is soft, that he isn't at all or as good as Urban in any way. I'm seeing this in my comment sections. You're 10-2. Game isn't over yet. And yes, I do think the Rose Bowl, depending on the result, will produce pressure. I think if you go 10-3, that, no offense, but in a certain sense, it's a disgrace. Because all the teams you have lost to, you have a decent talent advantage over. You are more talented than Oregon. You are actually more talented than Michigan. More talented than Michigan than a lot of people would like to believe. Michigan's like 14th or 15th on the talent composite, according to 24/7 Sports. You're third behind Alabama and Georgia, who live in the South and have top 5 head coaches. Seriously. And Utah is the least talented of all the teams in that group of 3. Of 3 teams that you have either A, lost to or could possibly lose to, teams you have remaining to face. So that's my question, and that's really all this video is going to be about. That's all it is about, because that's really all I have to say. It's a question. What will you think of this program, and what would you want to see happen if Ohio State loses to Utah? That's all I'm asking. This isn't going to be a 20-minute video by any means. It's almost over. What do you want to see if you lose to Kyle Whittingham and go 10-3? Tell me right now, down below, all your thoughts. I want to hear all of them, and I want to reply to as many of them as possible. It's what I try to do as a college football observer, analyst, fan, whatever you'd like to call me. Tell me down below. And I'm going to state this one more time. My opinion is 11-2. Personally, if I'm an Ohio State fan, 11-2, it's all forgiven. 10-3, I would not like the downward trend. And another interesting fact, you go 10-3, the only top 10 team you would have beaten is Michigan State, a team who you matched up very well with. Their best player was injured, and it was a home game. That's another worrying trend. Ohio State this year did not fare too well against good teams, for the most part, and especially against good teams on the road. It's just my thoughts. That's all I have to say for this video. Again, I'm just looking for your opinion, whether you're an Ohio State fan or not. I've stated this for the nth time by now, on what you would want to see happen or what action you'd want to see committed, whether it's just media pressure, severe staff changes, even more than what has happened now with the hiring of Jim Knowles, depending on the result in the Rose Bowl. Because I think that depending on the result, there will be a pretty decent reaction, whether it's a silent one or a very verbal one. Tell me your thoughts down below. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and help me get to 3,000 subs where I'll be doing a giveaway. Hit the notification bell so you can see when I go live and review games or post new videos. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys around.